without further ado, let's jump straight into this exclusive interview with Sam Hammington, the legendary Australian actor that's taken South Korea by storm. Be sure to give him a warm welcome. Hi Sam, welcome to the show. It's great to have you as a special guest. So for our listeners, can you just start by introducing yourself? Let us know a little bit more about your background.
Hi, I'm Sam Hammington. To start off with a little bit about myself and my background, I'm originally from Australia and I've been living here in Korea for about 12 years now. I started out studying Korean at university, ended up moving here after graduating and got into the film and television industry. These days, Real Men on NBC, I'm doing that every week where we spend time in the Korean military. Beyond that, I'm just kind of doing a bit of this, a bit of that in terms of television, but prior to that, Gag Concert on KBS, Witch Hunter on JTBC, quite a few television shows that I've been involved in. And yeah, at the moment, I'm just really concentrating on Real Men and waiting to finish my military service.
Many people know you for your comedic side. Personally, as someone that's always known as a bit of a joker around the office, sometimes that label can be a little bit tiresome. Is it the same with you? Do you sometimes want people to take you more seriously, or are you not that bothered?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big problems for me is that people always want me to be funny. There's an expectation that I'm going to be funny, and it's difficult because by nature I'm a pretty serious kind of guy. I like to have fun, but by the same time, I also like to be serious, and I like to talk about serious issues. But people don't expect that from me. And yeah, it does get very tiresome at times. People come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're not as funny as I expected you to be." It's like, well, I'm not working right now. I'm just relaxing with my friends. But yeah, sometimes it'd be nice for people to take me a little bit more seriously. And, you know, I'm hoping to be able to pursue that in the near future.
You're not averse to a little bit of acting, not just comedian stuff, with stints in the likes of Neighbours in the past. And even The Flying Doctors, we heard, amongst various other roles. Have you always had yearnings to do acting and to entertain people?
In terms of acting, I grew up in a household. My mum was the casting director of Neighbours for 20 years. So I've grown up around the entertainment industry in Australia. So for me, it was kind of normal to get into that. Took acting lessons when I was younger. As I got older, it wasn't something I wanted to do as a profession. It just kind of evolved for me here in Korea anyway. I kind of gave up on it in Australia and started studying and went to university and thought, get a 9-to-5 job. But I guess if it's something you've grown up around, it's something that's part of who you are, it's in your blood, it's something you can't really deny. And that for me is, I guess, why I kind of fell into it.
When did you decide to move over to Korea and what made you take the plunge? Also, just how much of a life changer and culture shock was it?
I decided to move over to Korea when I was getting close to graduating from university. It was prior to the 2002 World Cup, which I really wanted to be here for. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she decided that it would be too much of a stress for her to move to Australia because she didn't speak adequate English. So I kind of said, well, I'll go to Korea then, and it'd be easier for me to get a job in Korea than getting a job in Australia. I guess, yeah, I mean, in terms of life-changing, it was huge. I don't know what my life would have been in Australia, completely honest. It certainly was a huge life changer, culture shock. I think whenever you go anywhere in the world that's so different to the country you're originally from, it's always a huge culture shock. For me, I guess because I spoke Korean when I first got here, it kind of helped though because Koreans were so accepting of that, about me trying to learn their language, learn their culture. But in terms of the entertainment industry, it's really tough because you're non-Korean to begin with. We're talking about the most homogenous society in the world. So to have a face that's not Korean is always kind of stifling in terms of prospects, in terms of what direction you can go. That for me is probably the biggest hurdle. If I was Asian looking, I could probably do more roles. But I think the longer I've been here, the more accepting Koreans have started to become of me. But also, it's a lot easier now for a non-Korean to live in Korea. When I first came here, it was really difficult finding an Italian restaurant. Now you can find restaurants from Ethiopia. Thai restaurants are everywhere. There's Turkish places all over the place. So it's become a lot more multicultural, but also a lot more cosmopolitan here in Korea, which makes it a lot easier for non-Koreans.
Last year we played a great song called Gulguk by Disboys. So can you tell us a little bit more about this project? What is Disboys?
Disboys started out as an online TV show. myself and Chowon-sok, a comedian that I was working with at the time, decided we were going to do an online video, kind of like a YouTube cycle of videos, and it was kind of talking about issues in the news and things that we were just wanted to get off our chest, and part of it was we were dissing people. And that kind of got a lot of interest online, and actually it almost got too much interest, and we were kind of like, oh, what do we do now? And something we'd always talked about is we'd both been interested in music, and the company that we were working with at the time said, well, what about the two of you, if you go off and kind of get together and bring us something back, we'll kind of print something for you in terms of, put out a digital single. So we went out and worked on that for must have been about 6 months. And so it was myself and Wonseok, and then we had Youngjob, who was producing the single Gulpo. And yeah, for us it was just a bit of fun. It's something we always wanted to do. We wanted to make music, and it's changed somewhat now. It's become less of a group, it's more of an affiliation of people. And it's kind of like a rotating roster. We can have different people come and perform under the same umbrella name. At the moment, Sam Ochidi, the guy from Ghana that works in broadcasting, he's kind of working under the banner with me. Wonseok's taking some time off at the moment. So, it's an interesting vibe to be able to work under that, because you can collaborate with people that you really think have talent, and we can bring new people in. And yeah, for us, it's an opportunity just to have some fun. Ayong from Dalshabet, that was an interesting situation because I was asked to be in their music video, and it was me being in the music video, and it was like, well, we won't accept payment for this, but in lieu of payment, can you be on our single? So I guess it's kind of the way things work, is you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing. And yeah, it was weird because can we really ask this? But our management company was like, yeah, let's go for it. And it worked out. So we were really thankful for her being involved in that. And, unfortunately I haven't been able to see her much since then. I think, we're both pretty busy. But Dalshabet came to the military when we were there filming. So I briefly got to see her. And yeah, it was a pleasure working with her as well.
Gulkuk is pretty much the equivalent of gulp in English, right? Well, it certainly stands out from the crowd anyway. Was that the plan? To stand out from the waves of standard K-pop songs out there? And were you ever in two minds about a song that focused too much on drinking?
With the song Gulkok, yeah, it obviously gulp is what it goes for. We weren't going specifically for drinking alcohol anyway. It kind of came out in the summertime, so we were kind of thinking it was more of a, it could be anything really. Just trying to avoid the heat, stay cool. There was a bit of talk about it initially, because if we went down one direction, it could be too much focused on alcohol, which means that it may not have even been able to be played on air because of restrictions in regard to that. To be honest, yeah, sure, we like to drink, but it wasn't something we were focusing on too much. It was just it was a song for the summer, something that it didn't have to be alcohol. It could just be ice water, it could be milk, it could be a cold Coke, whatever it is you decide to drink. But it was just about having a fun time when the weather was hot and staying cool.
Naturally following on from that, what do you think about Hangover by Psy featuring Snoop DOGG?
Psy with Snoop Dogg, in terms of picking an artist to do a collaboration with, great idea. Snoop Dogg and Psy. The problem is, personally, I think Snoop Dogg is just collaborating with almost anyone and everyone at the moment. He's got so much music out at the moment, it's hard to keep track of. But it also seemed that, unfortunately, when you have someone collaborating, I think you don't want them taking over the whole song. But it seemed like in Hangover, Snoop had more of an influence and even had more lyrics in the song than Psy did, which I think took away from it quite a bit. In terms of the concept, in Korea people drink a lot, and a lot of people struggle with hangovers. I'm not sure if that's exactly the image you want to portray to the rest of the world in a music video, but the music video was done really well. I think Psy's music videos are always really cool. I really enjoy watching them. Snoop Dogg, I think, Snoop Dogg probably needed a little bit less influence in the song though.
Speaking of drinking, I'm quite fond of somek. A little bit of soju, a little bit of mekju, and for listeners, that is beer with Korean spirits mixed together. But what is your favourite drinks combination? Or are you more of a straight up shots guy?
Somek is amazing. That's something like, I don't drink soju. I know it's weird. I can't drink soju straight. So if friends are drinking soju, I'll drink the somek. But I'm just pretty straightforward. For me, it's more of a beer kind of drinker. If there's something else on the table, I'll drink it and work around it. But I don't get too fancy with my drinks. There are a lot of amazing sort of interesting cocktails out there from what I've seen, whether it's with an ice cream, with soju, and I mean there's so many different things. I think my wife drinks soju with Coke. That's just her preference, but yeah, I like to keep it pretty simple.
Can we expect more forays into music? Either you going solo or being part of Dis Boys again? Bulldog was very catchy, so of course it'd be great to hear more.
In terms of music, I think, like I mentioned earlier, Dis Boys, the whole sort of concept of the group has changed quite a bit, so it's more of an umbrella. And, I mean, for the World Cup, I did a song with Sam Ochidi, and I think we may be working on recording something probably for later on this year, early next year. Maybe putting a couple of songs together and maybe doing some performances. It's a matter of time and whether or not, we're both kind of busy with our own schedules in terms of TV work and whatnot, and whether we can actually sit down and write some lyrics and then get into the studio and put some stuff together. That's going to be the biggest problem, but I think we'll definitely give it a go, and I think Dis Boys will probably keep evolving, and maybe we can throw some other members in the mix. Beyond that, personally, sure, I've just had a birthday recently and I was completely unaware of it, but my wife bought me 2 turntables and a mixer because I was talking about I wanted to start DJing. So that's the next more immediate project for me in terms of music, is to kind of learn how to DJ, and then kind of, it's going to be more of a hobby, but if it becomes something else, that'll be great. I've got a passion for music, and to be able to play music that I enjoy and have other people enjoy it as well, that's going to be really cool. So that's something I want to be working on in the next 6 to 12 months. That's really immediate future for me.
Were you aware of K-pop before you moved to Korea? And do you either recall what your first song was, or what song really caught your interest?
Before coming to Korea, I mean, sure. I'd studied Korean at university, so I'd been watching Korean TV shows, Korean movies, hanging out with Korean friends, and one of the big things is they'd always show me Korean K-pop TV shows, like music shows. And I guess from that, I kind of started to get an appreciation for K-pop. For me, back then, it was groups like Uptown, Drunken Tiger, Yoo Seung-jun, of course, was huge then, Turbo. I mean, it was a wide variety. Im Chang-jong was another one that I really liked back then. So, I mean, before coming to Korea, I think I had probably even a bigger interest in K-pop. After I got here, I just got caught up with so many different things. And I find that these days, there's just so many talented people out there. It's really difficult to keep up with performers and whatnot. It just seems like every week there's new artists coming out. And we're talking about they're more mainstream artists. Then you've got the artists that aren't on TV. So, I mean, I can't even imagine how many performing artists there are in Korea right now.
Can you name your favorite Korean group or solo artist?
Favorite group for me, dynamic duo in terms of guys, is huge for me. And also I'm a big fan of SISTAR, especially Hyolyn. I just think they're great. Personally, I think she's incredibly attractive. She has an amazing voice, and I mean, they're great to watch. I'm a huge fan of Henry. Before he joined us on Real Men, I had no idea who he was. I've got to know him quite well personally, and I actually got really lucky. When we went to the Philippines on the flight back, he's like, I want you to listen to some stuff, and it was songs that he'd produced for his single album that came out recently. So I got to listen to that before it came out, and I'm like, this music's really cool. I was so taken away with it. And then he gave me the album, and it's stuff I just can't stop listening to. I think he's got a really interesting choice in music. I really like the beats that he's produced, and I really like his performance as well.
What comeback this year are you most anticipating?
Comeback performance this year, it's got to be Big Bang. I mean, Big Bang's huge. I mean, who could not like Big Bang? I think their music's really cutting edge, but they've also got that cool factor that everyone looks up to, and they're like, I want to be like Big Bang. I want to dress like Big Bang. I want to wear the same Air Jordans that G-Dragon's wearing, which I kind of dislike because I do like to wear Air Jordans, and whenever he wears something like that, they become really difficult to buy and really expensive. But Big Bang, when it comes to K-pop for me, they're at the top of the game, by far.
What can we expect from Sam Hammington further into the year, and even going into 2015?
In terms of what I'm doing for the rest of the year, well, focusing on Real Men is an important thing. probably looking at finishing that at the end of this year because we'll have done the full military service, at least for me and a few of the other members. In between that, I guess it depends on what opportunities I can take. Because of that schedule, it means it's really difficult for me to do certain things. I filmed a couple of cameo roles in movies this year, so I'm not sure if they're going to get released this year or next year. And I was meant to have another role in a movie, but that's been pushed back because of scheduling conflicts. So just waiting for things to fall in place, really. It's kind of difficult to really sort of say, this is what's going to be happening, this is what's going to be happening, because the schedule for Real Men changes quite a bit, and there's no real regularity in terms of what day we go in, what day we get out, which means scheduling for other things makes it a little bit difficult. Hopefully bigger and better this year. I'm more focusing on next year, actually. This year, my commitments to that show have taken up what I consider the rest of the year, so we'll just see what happens. The only other thing, hopefully this year, that you can expect from me is news of my wife being pregnant, because that's something I'm working on very hard right now. Yeah, and it's not like they tell you in high school. It's not that easy.
There have been so many great collaborations so far, some not so good. What would be your ideal collaboration between a Korean artist or group and a Western artist or group?
Ideal collaboration. Recently, Dynamic Joy came out with AO, which they released with DJ Premier from Gangstar. Personally, for me, that was a huge collaboration. I think both great artists and, yeah, worked very well together. The song came out really good as well. Very, very, very happy with that. I guess in terms of other collaborations, I'd like to see Dynamic Joy do some more stuff with maybe some other producers. Kanye West, maybe. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. I think there are a lot of artists that would work well with Korean groups. It's just a matter of working out how they'd work well together. That's the hardest part. I think it's really tough to say which two artists would go well together, because unless they get in the studio and actually kind of work it out, it could just become a bit of a mess. I mean, Psy and Snoop Dogg, I think it worked in terms of profile, in terms of performance. I think that they could have worked it out better, or it would have been better if they had different artists performing together. A group I'd love to see do a collaboration, though, is Epic High. I think they'd go really well with a group from the States. In terms of which group, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I think maybe if they got Kanye West to produce a track for them, that would work really well. Epic High has had so many different kind of changes in their career, like Kanye West, but also Tableau in terms of his ability to get emotional on a track, in terms of the lyricism. I think they'd pull it off.
Alright, Sam, you reach the heights of popularity and someone turns around to you and says, I want to make a video game about you. What sort of video game would you like to star in? What sort of character would you like to be? We are intrigued. We asked this question to a lot of people, and some of the answers are quite amusing. So we're quite intrigued what sort of game you'd like to be in.
A video game, that would be the coolest thing ever, but it's pretty straightforward. It's got to be a Grand Theft Auto kind of game, yeah. Personally, Grand Theft Auto series is my favorite series of games to play. I do like playing platformers, I like playing RPGs, I like playing all video games, but I want an open world game, and I want it to be even more open world than GTA. Like, there are so many buildings in those games that they won't let you in. I say, I want that whole world open, and you can do almost anything. I don't necessarily have to be the bad guy. I'd like to be a bit of a bad guy, but there's a story behind it. Hard done by a guy who's trying to get out of a hole, and he's committing crimes with a good heart, I guess. It's the method behind the madness. There's a reason to it all. Not just a guy who's out for world control. Grand Theft Auto by far. That would be the coolest thing. Could you imagine? That would be the coolest thing ever, having a video game with you being the main character. And it needs to be one of those games where you can kind of work your character into your playing style. So you get points to be able to develop certain skills, or, if you'd like him to run faster, you could put more emphasis on that. I think that's really important, being able to develop a character into your own personal playing style, because it makes the game so much more enjoyable. And yeah, that would be the coolest thing ever. If you know anyone there, please reach out to them and suggest that, because that would be cool.
Okay, you have the privilege of choosing the playlist this week. I take my hands off the steering wheel and pass it over to you. So, thank you for doing that. Gives me a bit of a rest, actually. Can you at least give us a little bit of insight, though, into the songs that you chose?
In terms of the songs I've chosen, wow, it's kind of a selection of songs of artists that I know personally, but also music that I really enjoy listening to. And it's kind of a little bit different to the average, probably K-pop list of music, because some of these artists, listeners may not know who they are. I'm generally a big hip-hop fan, R&B, funk, soul, that kind of style of music. So a lot of these artists have taken those inspirations and made music with them. I mentioned earlier on Dynamic Duo with DJ Premier, that was huge, that song. And I ran into Cheja a few weeks before it was released. He's like, yeah, we've got something really cool coming up. You're really going to like it. And I was like, I really want to know more about this. And he's like, wow, you just have to wait and see. And it had to be the DJ Premier project. And I think they pulled it off really well. Zion T, also he's under the same label as Dynamic Joy. Very, very impressive artist, got a great voice. Primary with See Through, that's another. He's affiliated with them, I think same label as well. I kind of knew him before he became famous with the whole kind of underground crew of kids that were into hip hop. And it's great to see him attain the level that he's at now. He's really talented in terms of production. Garion with good music, a huge fan of Garion. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the best hip-hop artists you'll find in Korea. MC Meta is probably the most respected MC in Korea as well. Great music. Jimbo with Love Game, another incredibly talented artist, incredibly underrated here as well. And I wish he got more opportunity to get on air and on television because the guy's voice is silky smooth. SISTAR 19 with My Boy, Bora and Hyolyn on the same track. Yeah, I love SISTAR, and don't get me wrong, I think they're amazing. But Bora and Hyolyn are my two favorites from the group, and this song. You want to feel like they're singing the song about yourself, even though you know it's not true. You want to tell yourself that in the back of your head. Song Jigang with Tusaram, personally it's a really important song. He sang that song at my wedding here in Korea, and I actually got to know Jigang quite well, working with him on Witch Hunter, and asked him to perform at the wedding because my wife was such a fan. And he said sure, and it was great to have him, and whenever I hear it, it means something incredibly special to me. Chonggigon Soyu with Some, great song. It was the #1 song, you can't go wrong with that. Benzino with Aquaman, another really talented MC here in Korea. And K-Will with Love Blossom. I have to give a shout out to K-Will. Worked with him on Real Men, and my wife's a big fan as well. If anything, I'm really sorry that I couldn't have played a Henry track. 10 songs is tough. If you had have given me 20, I still would have missed out on songs to put in a track list. So yeah, that's really, really difficult. But hopefully there are songs that you enjoy. Their songs, personally, I love them all. I think they're all great, and hopefully you do too.
And finally, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being a special guest, and a very special guest indeed. It's been great listening to your answers, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy, super hectic schedule to answer them all. Even the really weird ones, like the video game one. So, if you want to give a shout out to any friends, family, or just your loyal fans out there, please do so now.
For any fans out there listening, I just want to say thank you for appreciating everything I do. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for showing the support and the love. I always try my hardest, and I'm going to try my hardest and keep continuing to try harder and harder. And hopefully you'll continue to support me. And if that's the case, all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much to have a fan base and a support base of people out there who are cheering you on and respecting what you do. And without that, it's really difficult to work. But with that, it's so much easier because I'm doing my job for the fans. It's all about you guys. It's about making you guys laugh, about making your day a little bit easier. Just want to say thank you. And just keep showing the support, not only for myself, but for everyone in the industry. I think K-pop, but also, you know, the whole drama, television, everything here, the movies. It's amazing what they're producing here in Korea. And hopefully we can see more of the recognition that these products deserve overseas. I think the content that's being made here in Korea right now is amazing. So thank you again. One love. Thanks, guys.